Have you ever wondered why great companies fail? I'm not talking about poorly managed businesses, but industry leaders, the ones that seem invincible. They listen to their customers, invest heavily in new technology, and still somehow they get left behind. It's a puzzle that baffled the business world for years, until a Harvard professor named Clayton M. Christensen came along and wrote a groundbreaking book called The Innovator's Dilemma. Today, we're going to unpack the powerful ideas from this book that completely changed how we think about innovation. So, what is the innovator's dilemma? At its core, it asks the paradox that the very practices that lead to a company as success can also be the cause of its downfall. Sounds crazy, right? But Christensen shows us exactly how this happens. It all comes down to two types of innovation: sustaining innovation and disruptive innovation. Let's start with sustaining innovation. This is the stuff big companies are great at. It's about making good products better. Think about the smartphone in your pocket. Each new model has a slightly better camera, a faster processor, a brighter screen. These are incremental improvements designed to please the company's best and most profitable customers. Companies survey their existing user base, ask them what they want, and then deliver it. This is a sound business strategy. It's logical, it's profitable, and it keeps shareholders happy. But while these giants are busy climbing the ladder of sustaining innovation, something else is happening in the shadows, down at the bottom of the market. This is where disruptive innovation is born. Disruptive innovations are different. They don't try to compete with existing products head-on. Instead, they introduce a product or service that is simpler, more convenient, and more affordable. Initially, these products are often worse than what's already out there, at least by the standards of mainstream customers. Think about the first personal computers. They were toys compared to the powerful mainframes used by big corporations. They couldn't do nearly as much. Mainstream customers of the mainframe companies had no use for them. So the big, established companies look at these disruptive technologies and dismiss them. Why? Because their best customers don't want them. The profit margins are tiny. The market seems small and insignificant. It just doesn't make financial sense for a large corporation to invest in something so unproven and, frankly, so inferior. They do what any good manager would do. They ignore it and focus on their profitable, high-end customers. And this is the trap. This is the dilemma. While the big company is looking the other way, the disruptive innovator is quietly gaining a foothold. They find new customers, people who couldn't afford the expensive mainstream product or who were simply overlooked. For these new customers, the disruptive product is a game changer. It's not as good as the high-end alternative, but it's good enough and it's accessible. Let's take a classic example from the book, the disk drive industry. Back in the day, the leading companies made massive 14-inch disk drives for mainframe computers. Their customers were corporations who always wanted more storage capacity. Then a new company came along with a smaller 8-inch drive. It had less capacity, so the mainframe customers weren't interested. The big companies asked their clients, "Hey, do you want the smaller, less powerful drive?" And the answer was a resounding no, so they ignored it. But the 8-inch drive found a new market: mini computers. This was a market the big guys weren't even serving. As the 8-inch drive technology improved, it eventually became powerful enough to serve the mainframe market too. By the time the original industry leaders realized what was happening, it was too late. The disruptive company had taken over. The same story repeated itself with 5.25-inch drives for personal computers and then 3.5-inch drives for laptops. Each time, the established leaders failed to see the threat until it was right on top of them. Another great example is Netflix versus Blockbuster. Blockbuster was the king of movie rentals. They had stores everywhere. Their business model was based on physical locations and, importantly, late fees. They were a well-oiled machine. Then came Netflix with its weird subscription model of mailing DVDs. In the beginning, it was inconvenient. You had to wait for the mail. There were no impulse rentals. Blockbuster looked at this and thought, who would want that? Their customers were happy going to the store. But Netflix wasn't targeting Blockbuster's core customers. They were targeting people who were frustrated with late fees and the limited selection at their local store. Netflix offered a huge library and no late fees. It was a simpler, more affordable model for a specific niche. As internet speeds got faster, Netflix pivoted from mailing DVDs to streaming. This was another disruptive leap. They didn't just improve the old model. They created a new one. Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix for a mere $50 million and they passed. They were trapped in their own successful business model. They were listening to their current customers and couldn't see the massive shift that was happening right under their noses. We all know how that story ended. So the innovator's dilemma isn't about bad management. The managers at Blockbuster and the disk drive companies were smart. They were making rational decisions based on good data. They were doing what they were taught to do, serve their most profitable customers. The problem is that this rational approach makes them vulnerable to disruption. Christensen argues that to overcome this dilemma, large companies need to think differently. He suggests that if a company identifies a disruptive technology, it shouldn't try to integrate it into its main business. The values and processes of the main business will smother the new venture. The big company's sales team won't want to sell a low-margin product. The finance department will question the small returns. Instead, the solution is to create a separate independent organization, a spin-off or a small autonomous division. This new entity should be free to operate with its own business model, its own customer base, and its own metrics for success. Its goal shouldn't be to hit the massive revenue targets of the parent company, but to grow and find its own market. It needs to be small and nimble, just like the startups it's competing against. It needs to be allowed to fail and experiment. This is exactly what many tech companies do today when they acquire startups. They often let them operate as independent subsidiaries to preserve their culture and agility. They understand that forcing the startup to conform to the parent company's rules would kill the very innovation they paid for. The lessons from the innovator's dilemma are crucial not just for CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, but for anyone in business and even for our own careers. It teaches us that what makes us successful today might not be what makes us successful tomorrow. We have to be willing to look beyond our current customers and our current success metrics. We have to pay attention to the seemingly insignificant trends and the not good enough technologies, because that's often where the future is being built. It's a call to be humble and vigilant. To recognize that even when you're at the top of your game, someone else is in a garage somewhere building something that could make your skills and your business obsolete. The key is to not be afraid of cannibalizing your own success. If you don't create the product that will replace your current one, someone else will. So, in essence, the innovator's dilemma is a powerful warning and a guide. It shows us that success can be a double-edged sword. The relentless focus on serving your best customers with better products is a path to short-term profit, but can lead to long-term failure. To survive and thrive, organizations must also learn to embrace the disruptive, to nurture the small, and to have the courage to create the future, even if it means leaving a successful present behind. It's a timeless lesson that is more relevant today than ever before in our fast-paced, ever-changing world. Thanks for watching. If you found this summary helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content. And let me know in the comments what book you'd like me to cover next. See you in the next video.